Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the thrilling sequel, the maybe good, maybe bad sequel to the first Resident Evil live-action film. I liked this movie, but I also disliked it just as much as I liked it. It's kind of like one of those bad Nick Cage films. You like Nick Cage in the film, and he's the reason why you picked it up, and if he wasn't in there, you probably wouldn't have watched the movie. That's kind of like what this film is about, because if they didn't have these types of characters and these types of plot settings, and they just did the other stuff they did, I probably wouldn't have liked it. But since they had these other things that I'm about to mention in this film, I ended up liking that part of the film. So I guess for this breakdown audiocast, we're going to go through the story. Maybe in a whole shaded, uninterested tone, whatever. So the film opens with our characters doing the dumbest thing that they possibly could have done, which is reopen the hive. They said that they wanted to do that at the end of the first film anyway, so I guess we had it coming. Ultimately, the issue was contained, for the most part, because what the Caporter was infected with, causing him to mutate at the end of the first film, was not a vastly infectious disease that was going to, turn everybody into monsters, shit like that. It wasn't going to do that. The issue was, for the most part, contained. The only reason Raccoon City gets infected is because of Umbrella's own stupidity. They created the entire problem. And part of me thinks that it was unintentional, that they caused this outbreak unintentionally, and that they probably didn't want this to happen. Umbrella stocks are probably going to go down. They're probably going to try to cover up this entire thing, and all the PR and lawyers that they would have to hire, and all the money that they waste. And they have the money to waste, but, a big corporation with money would rather not spend it than spend it to avoid a PR disaster. So I'm thinking the Raccoon City thing was unintended. So the reason why Raccoon City happened in this film series is due to their stupidity. So, to recap the first film, a bunch of cyber commandos go in to assess a situation because the AI went, as they thought, AWOL, when really the AI was just going through her programming like she was supposed to do. She contained an incident. Everything was fine. Everything was contained. All you had to do was terminate the facility and self-destruct it, and boom, all of our problems have been solved. Well, therein lies the issue of our contentious problem. Our cyber commandos didn't self-destruct the system, everybody died pointlessly, zombies got released, but in the end, they did eventually just contain the incident. The hive was sealed off, nobody could get in, nobody could get out. We could have just let that issue die. We could have just let it die, but dumb things have to happen, because this is a sequel. If people were smart, we wouldn't have even needed this sequel. I could think of a reason that they could make a sequel, going in a different way if they had to do what they had to do, but it would just make them needlessly evil, just for the sake of being evil. At least in this case, they're being unintentionally dumb. Or just dumb, but the issue that happens afterwards is unintentional. When you watch the sixth film, all of this shit gets turned on its heads. And they try to get smart, making you think, oh, we planned this all. No, that's not really how it happened. But So the dumb decision was they wanted to reopen the hive to find out what went down there, when really all you had to do was ask Alice and say, hey, what happened down there? And she would go like, blah, 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 zombies! And that's all you would need to know. All you had to do was ask the survivor what went on down there. I think they know. They were there. So the guy says, let's reopen the hive. I have to find out what went down there. Because they don't want to ask Alice or the comporter. They took the comporter and says, I want him in the Nemesis program. He's mutating. Blah, blah, blah. Because, of course, as these smart people go, this is the perfect case for a guinea pig example for their experimentation. So they really don't care about their employees. They're really trying to make the Umbrella Company off to be this evil company. And I guess this issue currently is not a PR disaster. Nobody would miss this comporter if he vanished. You could just say he died in an accident somewhere. Fine, I get that. And I also get abducting Alice to experiment upon her, but you also didn't have to experiment on her. She wasn't infected. Nothing was wrong with her. All you had to do was ask Alice, hey Alice, what happened down there? And then she tells you her report because she fucking works for you. She fucking would tell you her report. She'd be pretty upset about what you've been doing down there, but she'd tell you her report. Because really, the only reason the previous movie happened was because Solomon Kane stole the virus to sell on the black market, and he released the virus because he was a dumbass. And then the Cyber Commandos get involved, Umbrella's higher-ups get involved, all because Solomon Kane is a fucking idiot. Oh, gosh. So, they open the hive, the zombies get out, their scouting team gets killed, and they're probably reanimated as zombies as well, add to the numbers. The experimental canine, weird brain-faced, long-tongued liquor monsters get released as well into the city. And everything starts to go chaotic, because they have to set up the whole Raccoon City incident. Because remember the Raccoon City incident in the games? It happened in the games. We're going to have to make that happen here too. And then you ask them, well, how does that happen? We opened the hive. Well, why did they open the hive? Because they wanted to find out what went down there. Well, why did they want to find out what went down there when they could have just asked Alice? And they go like, shut up, it's my movie. And it's just so... So here's the part I actually liked. So the zombies get released. You couldn't avoid that, I guess. Movie's got a movie, you gotta make dumbass decisions to have a plot. So zombies are starting to show up in Raccoon City, and people are going crazy. And the scene opens with showing a character that from the games, the first character from the games that we will be seeing in this franchise, almost played decently in this opening segment. We see a bunch of newspaper clippings and photographs and awards and all those things of a certain character called Jill Valentine. She was the protagonist of Resident Evil 3. Well, what about Resident Evil 2? What happened in Resident Evil 2? Shut up, we're not going to talk about that. There's no Leon Kennedy, there's no Claire Redfield, because there's no Chris Redfield in the first game, so why would people care about Claire Redfield looking for her brother? And why would people care about rookie-ass Leon Kennedy and Ada Wong and all those plot points that Paul W.S. Anderson probably thought were too fucking smart and complex for his film, so he had to make it small, because he wanted to make it all about Alice, instead of about these other cool badass characters that you could have made the main characters of each installment. You could have had Chris Redfield, the hero of the first film. You could have had Claire Redfield and Leon Kennedy, the hero of the second film. You could have had Jill Valentine, the hero of the third film. You could have had Leon back in the fourth film. And just follow the games and just do something like that, but I guess you wanted to do something different. You wanted to do something unique, and I guess... Because, if you wanted to just do a retelling of a game, why would you do that? Just play the game, and then there's your fucking story. So I guess that's why you have to make a different, unique story. But anyways, so Jill Valentine is released, and apparently she likes putting up newspaper clippings of her getting punished and suspended from the force, because of course we have to show that she's one of those outlaw rebel cop things and all that crap. Because of course she would frame her suspension. She would put it on the wall. She would be very happy about it. The only reason it's on the wall showing all those things is for us, the viewer, because it's telling us, showing us that this stuff is happening. Okay, so there's this writing trope, film trope called show, don't tell. Well, this is technically showing, because nobody's telling you what Jill Valentine is, but they're technically telling you, because all of this reading crap is telling you what happened to her, instead of, showing and all that. But I guess it's one way to do it. So, Jill Valentine wakes up. She's in the clothes that she wore in the third game. Even though she has time to get dressed into, a uniform or something like that, because it's not too chaotic right now. The streets are chaotic, but, not as chaotic as a traffic-heavy day of the year in Raccoon City. But instead, she just dresses in the blue blouse and short shorts and the high boots and for some reason I don't know why. I don't know why she's in these clothes, because she could have put something more tactical on, like something practical, but it's just a ploy to say, hey, remember she wore this? Because that's what they're doing. And the actress who plays her is fine. The actress who plays her is fine. And her performance here is fine, all the way up to a certain point. So, everything so far is fine. We also introduced Alice, and it's basically the epilogue of the first film, shown again at the beginning of the second film, to say, hey, Alice is in this film, she woke up in this hospital, isn't it creepy? Because, of course, we show that. Anyways, so Jill Valentine is over there, and then we have this other character who is, I'm just going to call him the director. The director is the leader of the Umbrella Tent City that is going to be growing outside of Raccoon City, because the virus has gotten out from the mansion where the hive was located under, and now it has reached Raccoon City, so the Umbrella high brass gets shipped off here. They extract all of the important Umbrella people, because they don't want to tell the civilians what's going on. They don't want to evacuate, because they don't know if they're infected or not. So they have a small window to evacuate very important people without causing a mass panic and tons of traffic jams, and nobody's going to get out of that, right, because there's so many people and not enough time. So they have to not tell the public what's going on. They extract all of the important people, and all of the trucks except for one leave. One of the trucks is carrying Dr. Ashford's daughter. Dr. Ashford is probably one of my favorite characters, and his daughter is also one of my favorite characters in this film, because it provides very decent storytelling behind the virus. Paul, writing and directing it, he's trying to make his own Resident Evil story here, and he's giving it his own backstory surrounding the T-virus and its inception, conception, creation, and how it was originally created using good intentions, but Umbrella, being Umbrella, it's a mass, multi-billion, trillion company that wants to make money weaponizing it, so they weaponize the T-virus. But initially the T-virus was made kind of like this groundbreaking revolutionary medicine that revives dead tissue and degenerative diseases. For example, Dr. Ashford is in a wheelchair. He cannot move his legs. his daughter was going to inherit the same condition that he had, but he wanted her to be able to walk again. So he created the T-virus as a sort of revolutionary medicine, very experimental, and he tried it on his daughter, and suddenly she could walk again. It regenerated her nerves and all that stuff, and she was able to walk again. But to keep the virus in check, because it would go out of control, constantly growing and doing all sorts of shit, to keep that in check, he had to keep inoculating her with an antivirus, and he had to keep manufacturing that in secret to keep his daughter safe and all that shit, because she would keep, like, the antivirus in a fucking lunchbox that she has to take timely. It's kind of like insulin. But that's the price that she had to pay to be able to walk. And I guess she was in on the deal, and she knew what was going on, and she accepted that. And it was a decent story. And it was probably my favorite part of the film. This whole backstory surrounding Dr. Ashford and his daughter. He was a very good character. It was very creative what he did and how he created the T-virus. And then the Umbrella Company comes in, it usurps power over the virus, mass manufactures, experimenting upon it for mutations and weaponized bioweapons and things of that nature, because of course they're wanting to weaponize anything they can, because money! Everything ever that you could ever perceive that's a problem with these big companies, the answer is because money. Umbrella loves money, because they are a multi-global conglomerate that is monopolizing the pharmaceutical and weapons industries. Because, of course, if they're in both, they're going to use one to do the other, you know? So they make the weapons, and then they make the medicine to heal you from people who use their weapons on you. And they also provide medicine that they're going to weaponize against people, so that people could buy their medicine to use and all that stuff. It was very typical of a big conglomerate type of writing trope. But that's the best part of this film to me, is that the other part being Jill Valentine's character and all that she did up until Alice showing up. Because Jill was competent. It almost felt like she was the main character of the first portion of the film, because she's all we saw. We didn't really see much of Alice until she showed up at the church. We only saw a handful of segments with Jill leading the party being slowly growing. The first person that joins her is Peyton, who is a member of STARS, his Special Tactics and Rescue Squad, which is part of the video game series. It's a real thing. Jill was actually part of STARS. I don't know if Peyton was actually part of the series or not, but he's there. And he's played by that guy who was also in the Doom movie, not Annihilation, the good one with The Rock. He was in that. Now, why did I do air quotes with my fingers? It's because I actually liked that movie. It's a bad movie, but it's entertainingly bad. You know how Nick Cage's The Wicker Man is entertainingly bad? A lot of bad movies can be really good if there's some stuff in there that just makes you laugh, that makes you enjoy the film. If you enjoy the film, it's entertaining. It could be good or bad. If it's entertaining, then it's worth the watch. And that's who Peyton. That's who plays Peyton. And Peyton just is there to back up Jill during segments. He gets bitten in the leg early on at the Ravensgate Bridge, which the Umbrella Director Man is trying to evacuate the city after he's already evacuated the important people. He's trying to evacuate the people who are not infected, trying to do his job as the guy trying to quarantine the city, but also get the uninfected out so less people have to be destroyed when we eventually nuke the city. So you could get the idea that he's playing a dual role. He's playing the part of the Umbrella Director Man who is trying to get the people to safety and quarantine the people who are infected, so that it doesn't spread outside of the city. He's doing a typical job of a pharmaceutical CDC dude, senator, right? So, the other thing that he's doing is that he was aware of the Nemesis program. And he also was aware of the Alice program, because both of the survivors from the end of the first film were taken in to be experimented upon. One of them became part of the Nemesis program, the cop porter. The cop porter becomes the Nemesis dude that you see in Resident Evil 3, because of course it's the Nemesis dude. He is the most memorable. There's also Mr. X in Resident Evil 2, but the Nemesis is basically the same type of idea behind Mr. X. So, we also had Jill Valentine in there because we have the Nemesis program. When you have Resident Evil 3, if you want to include the main big bad, you have to include the hero, who is also in it. Though, Jill and the Nemesis program do not fight. No. Of course not. Why? Why would they? No. It's Alice. It's all about Alice. Of course it is. But Alice isn't showing up yet. Now, the next set of characters we have to talk about are Carlos Oliveira, who is played by that guy who was in The Mummy, who played that Medjai dude. I liked The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. I liked the Medjai dude. I forget his name. But that's the only thing I've seen him from. He's in other things. I think he was in one of those bad gigolo movies. He was the guy with the big fish tank who was a gigolo. And that's all I know him from. But he's good in this. He's fine. He plays Carlos fine. I don't know how Carlos was in Resident Evil 3. I know he was in the game, but he was fine. He was fine. He's fine. His entire section is more an action hero. We're just going to shoot the bad guys. Oh no, we infected. Let's go killing some bad guys. What's going on? Why are we expendable? Blah, 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 blah. But his introduction is entertainingly bad. He's on a chopper flying over the city, surveying what's going on. And he sees this woman running from a horde of zombies on top of a skyscraper. Now, you could say that he did not know what was going on, what had happened to her after she jumped onto the roof to run away. You could make the arguments of semantics all you like, but he said to land the chopper. The pilot said, no, we have our orders. So he and two others jump out of the helicopter onto the roof of the skyscraper to save this woman. But the woman is already infected, and she jumps off the skyscraper so that she doesn't have to become one of those monsters. Leaving Carlos and his two buddies there on the roof of a skyscraper as the chopper flies away, because of course the chopper flies away. Why would the chopper just remain there, let them climb back up, and they go about their business? You wouldn't waste anything more than about 10 minutes. You wouldn't waste any more than 10 minutes. But the chopper flies away, stranding Carlos and his buddies there, because he's got to be part of the story somehow. He's got to be part of the story, because, hey, remember Carlos? He was in the games! So Carlos is here, and he does his thing. Moving back to Jill Valentine, she and the others try to mitigate the chaos at the Ravensgate Bridge as the Director Man tries to get the uninfected out of the city. Suddenly, the virus reaches the city, and civilians start turning into zombies, and Peyton gets his leg bitten. So now they close off the Ravensgate Bridge to prevent anybody from getting out. And now he activates the Nemesis program and the Alice program, because since the city's going to be nuked, it's a perfect controlled environment to test these two bioweapons out. Because that's what they are. That's what he views Alice and the Nemesis as. Bioweapons. there are two different types of bioweapons. One is a severely mutated cyber mind-controlled tank of a monster, and the other is Alice. She looks and acts like a normal human, but she's super strong, super speed, and all that other shit. But we don't have to worry about that just yet. We have a few more minutes of good movie. So, Jill, Peyton, and they pick up a reporter who reminds me of Trisha Takanawa from Family Guy. She's a reporter trying to win an Emmy, trying to record the zombie stuff, because she's a reporter. That's what they do. They do journalist stuff. So, she has no character other than that. That's all she is the person who tries to record things to turn into get an Emmy. So I'm just going to call her the Emmy girl. So Jill, Peyton, and the Emmy girl go into this giant church because why not? It's a giant church with the strongest walls, strongest doors, and they could hold themselves in, waiting for help that's not going to come. But hey, Peyton's got to be optimistic. So, we go to the church. And this is a very good part, at least until Alice shows up. Alice hasn't shown up yet. We see a scene of her going into, like, this gun surplus store where she's starting to get loaded up on ammo and a bunch of shit like that. She gets new clothes and all that stuff. So she's gearing up for her entrance. Meanwhile, Jill, Peyton, and the Emmy girl go into the church. And they find out somebody else is also hiding here. And then they realize, oh no, we're not alone. And then she goes to check the upstairs room to find the preacher is feeding people to his wife. His sister. To his sister. He's feeding people to his zombie sister. Because he doesn't know that she's a zombie, I guess. He's like, she's not well. He's Another contentious point that I have to make is that Jill Valentine knows that you shoot zombies in the head. Her entrance into the Raccoon City Police Department a couple scenes earlier, she just immediately unloads shooting a bunch of zombies that these cops don't know are zombies. They just think they're crazed, rabid criminals. And she just goes in shooting every single one of them in the head, and none of the cops just immediately point their guns at her and saying, put your gun down, blah, blah, blah. No, they just let her unload, and they say, try to shoot them in the head. Them who, Jill? They don't know who these things are. And she's like, I'm getting out of town. And Peyton's like, whoa, but we gotta get out of town. There's also another character introduced in that police station scene, and he is... the actor who plays him is fine. He's funny in a lot of other things. In this, he's just out of place. He's not even a Jar Jar Binks, because I can defend Jar Jar Binks in The Phantom Menace by pointing at C-3PO and all of his comedic antics in Empire Strikes Back. But sir, 2-1. Never tell me the odds. You see, he's not as bumbling as Jar Jar, but he was the same type of comedic effect. But this is Resident Evil. Resident Evil does not need a Jar Jar Binks. It does not need LJ. But LJ is the comedic character who makes comedic quips. He does funny things. He says funny things. But he's wasted. There's no reason for him to be in this film, like, at all. There's even less of a reason for him to be in the sequel, the Resident Evil 3 Extinction. But he's here, so he escapes the police station to do his own thing. We'll get back to him once the Nemesis program gets released. So we're at the church now, and Jill Valentine shoots the preacher and his zombified sister. goes back down to the main hall to find that the bioweapons, liquors, have appeared in the church, and she needs to stop them somehow. And it gets really tense. It gets like almost horror movie-esque, and it starts to look really good. And you start to get your hopes up, thinking, "Oh, cool! Is this gonna be a good film?" No. Alice just shows up on a motorcycle, jumping through the lovely church windows, and blows up all the liquors with her shotguns and her SMGs and all of her weapons. She just destroys them all, and Jill just sits there, doing nothing. And if you thought Jill's moment in the police plaza and her stuff in the church before Alice showed up and stuff at the Ravensgate Bridge, if you thought Jill was going to be a competent character because she showed signs of competency in the one police plaza, taking charge, shooting all those things with great expert marksmanship that she suddenly no longer has after Alice shows up. If you thought that she was going to be important, I'm afraid I have to say that she's not. She was a fake-out protagonist. She was there only as a stand-in until Alice showed up. As soon as Alice showed up, everybody else becomes pointless. Jill becomes pointless. The Emmy girl becomes pointless. Peyton is pointless. And even less pointless after she shows up. And so Alice kills the liquors and says, "We got blah 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 blah," and Alice joins the party. And as the leader, she just takes over. Because, of course she does. And then they're gonna go into the graveyard to do a thing. In the graveyard where Peyton gets turned into the zombie even further. And it's just... And then the Nemesis program gets released by the director man after he finds that the Alice program has been awakened. So he releases the Nemesis program, and the Nemesis program gets a minigun, a rocket launcher from a weapons ammo crate that Carlos sees that the Nemesis program has already taken this stuff from. And then Carlos joins the Raccoon City Police Department and STARS and SWAT teams, everybody, as they're making a final stand in the middle of an intersection, killing all the zombies, using all the guns and ammo that they got left. This little spot was fun, dumb schlock, where everybody was just shooting the crap out of everything. It was cool, man. All the cops and everybody was take this one last stand against a massive horde of zombies, and everybody had guns, and it was just going crazy, man. It was just going crazy. It was dumb, fun schlock. Carlos's spot here was very fun. It wasn't good by any means, but it was very fun, action. So after this, we go to LJ. LJ enters one police plaza to find that there are 14 STARS members holed up at one police plaza to wait out the quarantine that isn't going to end, because it's only going to end with the nuke fires and blows up Raccoon City. But they don't know that, so they're holed up here, and LJ finds them, and they're like, "Shh, there's something coming." And then the Nemesis program, which the director man decides, alright, here's a good place to test him. We're gonna program him to kill STARS members, because that's what the Nemesis program was programmed to do in the games. Remember that? So the Nemesis program kills everybody in there, except for LJ. He drops these gold guns, and he doesn't pick them up after the Nemesis program walks away, because that would be smart to do. In fact, he should probably raid one police plaza for all of the ammo surplus that's here now. There's a bunch of dead guys, and a bunch of grenades, a bunch of weapons, a bunch of ammo, shotguns, maybe even some fucking assault rifles in a lockbox somewhere. He could have geared up, man! But, he's dumb. He doesn't even pick up his own pistols that he dropped when the Nemesis program was there, making him scared. Because, whatever. In fact, before he even showed up at one police plaza, he had stolen a car, a Cadillac. And he was going like, GTA, motherfucker! And he runs over a zombie and goes, 20 points! And then he turns and sees some zombie hookers, and then he immediately crashes his car. He just immediately crashes his car. And that's the end of him using the Cadillac. That's the end of that scene. He just gets out. Wasn't that funny? Yeah. So that's the end of LJ with the one police plaza. And then the graveyard scene happens, and they just kill zombies there. That's it. We show off how cool Alice is, and Jill is less cool suddenly. Peyton's even less cool. And the Emmy girl's just sitting there screaming, running away, and all that shit, whatever. And then they finally get in contact with Dr. Ashford, who says, I could get you out of the city, but you need to do something for me first. I need you to find my daughter. And so they go to the school to find his daughter. And of course, a canine unit was stopping at the school. I don't know, probably looking for drugs or something. So a canine unit is there, but the only reason a canine unit from the cops was there was because we wanted to have more zombie dogs. That's really the only reason why we see that canine unit police truck parked outside the school. It's the only reason. It's arbitrarily placed there just so that we can have some more zombie dogs killing people. Because zombie dogs are faster and more dangerous than humans that shamble about. So we go to the school to find Abigail Ashford. And she's she's decent. Her and her father are really good characters. The story behind her is fine, all that crap. So, Jill finds Abigail Ash, and the Emmy girl gets killed by a bunch of zombified kids. Oh no! So Jill finds that the Emmy girl's been killed, tragically, after contributing absolutely nothing to the story. I think the only thing that she contributed was that she had a MacGuffin in the form of her camcorder that recorded all the zombie events, because Jill knows that the Umbrella Corporation is probably going to cover this all up, and she's like, I'm going to release this to the press and show off that the Umbrella Company is bad. So she picks up the camcorder. The Emmy girl is so not needed that the only point of her existence is the camcorder, which you could have just given to Peyton and said, I'm going to chronicleize this. Peyton could have done that. No, we have the journalist lady who does it. So the Emmy girl does that, and we pick up the camcorder. Jill picks up the camcorder and leaves with Abigail Ash. But then the zombie dogs show up, and then they have to hide in the kitchen. And then Jill Valentine gets the idea, let's blow up the kitchen with gas and we'll kill all the zombie dogs. And here's another arbitrary scene where they try to make Alice look better than Jill in every way, far more competent in every way. They just needlessly have Jill's match does not stay lit when she tosses it into the gas-filled room. And she's like, oh no, the zombie dog's coming. And Alice has a match. She somehow knows what their plan was. And she tosses her lit match, which flies into the kitchen and catches fire and kills all the zombie dogs. And then she covers Abigail in a fire protective thing, but she had all of this planned out. That they just took that entire scene away from Jill Valentine, just as a big fuck you to the Jill Valentine character, saying, "Aren't you useless? Wouldn't you be nothing without Alice?" You see how I both like and hate this film. I like the parts where Alice wasn't there, back when Jill was a little bit more competent. I like the backstory surrounding the T-virus with Dr. Ashford and his daughter. I hate the parts with Alice. Alice is fine, entertaining schlock, but Carlos is more fine, entertaining schlock, to the point where you don't even need Alice anymore. Alice becomes a little bit more entertaining in the fourth film. I'm gonna just tell you that right now. She's a little bit more entertaining in the third and fourth films. I like her more in those two films than I did here. I just felt like she completely destroyed the point of having Jill in this movie, other than to be like, oh, she was in the games, remember her? That's the only reason she was there. So they meet up with Carlos, who is sort of like Alice's love interest. He's treated like her love interest or some dumb shit like that. I don't know. Oh, they lost Peyton too. He turns into the zombie after the graveyard scene, and then he dies. Wow. Oh dear. So he's gone, and Carlos takes Peyton's place as the gun-toting dude, right? And they pick up LJ as well, because of course they do. They have to pick up a comedic relief character. And everybody's in the school, and they pick up the Abigail, and they're ready to leave. So our party leaves for the middle of town, or the high skyscraper where there's a helicopter with some umbrella people gearing up. And I don't know why they're there. I don't know why there's a helicopter there. I don't know. Maybe that's like the Umbrella HQ building, or some sort of Umbrella office building, and there's important shit that they gotta pick up before they nuke the city. I don't fucking know. It's completely arbitrary why it's there. It's like the director man knew that Dr. Ashford was... That's actually probably the reason why. The director man knew that Dr. Ashford was communicating with people inside the city to get his daughter, so he puts a helicopter on top of the skyscraper and allows Dr. Ashford to find out that there's one there, and he tells Alice and friends to go to the helicopters so that they could kill all the Umbrella people, hijack the helicopter, and get out of the city before the nuke comes and blows up the city. And, yeah. A lot of stuff happens. They get to the skyscraper, and the director man brings Dr. Ashford, whom he has captured for, I don't know, for telling Alice and friends that he wanted his daughter saved, for getting in the way of the director man's experiment of Alice versus the Nemesis program. What does this whole being mad at Dr. Ashford serve? What does this serve? He's like, you're important to the Umbrella Corporation. We evacuated you to save your life. You are important. You created this thing. You're the one who knows the most about this thing. And Dr. Ashford is like, I need my daughter. And the director's man, well, we don't have any assets to go save her. So all Dr. Ashford does is find assets to save her, and he gets arrested. They just needlessly turn the director man into a 180 evil bad guy at the end, because of and he's there along with Dr. Ashford, and he brings the Nemesis program up to the top because he wants the Nemesis program and Alice to fight to see who is superior. It's hard for me to talk about this part. It's so bad. So they fight. Then suddenly, the Nemesis program remembers that he's the cop porter and Alice is his friend, and they team up against the Umbrella soldiers, and then they hijack the helicopter. They fly away. The nuke flies in. The aftershock explosion brings the helicopter down. Alice dies in the explosion. The Umbrella people pick up her corpse and they clone her and make her powerful with telekinesis, and all elfin lied bullshit happens, and she has telekinesis now, and she's killing people with telekinesis. It's all cool and badass. And for some dumbass fucking reason, Jill Valentine and LJ and Carlos Oliveira are outside this main Umbrella HQ building when Alice walks right out the front door, and they take her into their car and they fly away, and Dr. Isaacs is like, let her go, And then that's it. What the fuck was that ending? Oh my god. I both enjoy and hate this film. I both enjoy and hate it. It is not as good as the first, because the first was just consistently okay. There's a lot of dumb stuff in it, but it was consistently okay. The second film is great in some places, and very bad in other places, so that they balance out to be an okay film, but it wasn't consistently okay, if that makes sense. There are certain parts of the second film that I like more than the first film, but there are certain parts in the second film that I can't save it. But the good parts do save it, so to make it just an okay film, I would watch this film. If I wanted to do a Resident Evil 1 through 6 rewatch, I would rewatch all 6 films, because that's just who I am. I would watch the second one to get to the third and fourth films, which I actually enjoy a little bit more. I would watch the second one to get to the next film. So, that was an audio cast of Resident Evil Apocalypse. Divisive between decent and bad. It couldn't be one. It had to be one or the other. It couldn't be just balanced in between all the way through. It's one or the other in each scene. The scenes with Dr. Ashford were good. The scenes with Abigail Ashford and the backstory behind the T-virus was good. The scenes with Jill Valentine before Alice completely ruins the point of her existing was good. The scenes with Carlos Oliveira before he joins Alice at party was good. The scenes with Alice joining up with the party, the graveyard scene was blah. The Nemesis fight, the first one, was okay. The second one was ugh. The whole rooftop part was ugh. I just didn't care. It was just popcorn schlock. Except the popcorn's stale and soggy because you put water on it. And it's sticky because there's too much butter. And you don't like butter because it goes through you. And it comes out the way you ate it. So you're like, I don't want the popcorn. So this is just schlock with bad popcorn. And the soda has all the ice melted and it's too watery to be good. That's what that ending was like. This is turning into like a podcast territory in terms of length. This is like 48 minutes long, and I can't believe I've just been sitting here talking about this for 48 fucking minutes. It's incredible. And you probably won't watch all 48 minutes of this audio cast, but if you decide to do so, thank you so fucking much, and I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe like the video, maybe subscribe to this channel. Every subscription, every like, every comment on my videos helps to, like, get the channel out to more people. This has been a Audiocast, signing off. Remember, be imaginative.